and 1. We are live, baby. Welcome back, Portugirls. If you are returning for episode 4, I love you. I love you. I love you. We have a jam-packed show today. We are continuing our Dare to Dream series, part 2. We are continuing our conversation last week regarding the devastating Supreme Court ruling in Louisiana v. Callais, and I am supposed to be making this announcement for my daughter that I have Lilo with me today. Lilo is recording with us. Sarani J made her, and she's lovely, and so she is our guest today. All right, let's get into our sanity check. This week, first of all, let me say this. I recorded this entire episode yesterday, and I mean the entire episode, just to learn that I recorded the entire thing on mute. So I don't really know where I stand in terms of sanity at the moment. But I have really been fighting against the spirit of perfectionism these last 2 weeks. Also, work wouldn't turn me loose. So this week is coming at the perfect time because I go on vacation this week. You know what? If you're feeling like the weeks are running long, kids getting on your nerves, husband getting on your nerves, that job's getting on your nerves, we thank God for PTO. And I have PTO this week. So honestly, I kind of have to keep my problems measured because, nothing's that bad when you're about to go on vacation. That's honestly the truth. Uh, Aside from that, anxiety has not been all that kind to me. And I just have not been able to shake the anxiety. And I honestly, if I can break the fourth wall a little bit, I do think that a lot of it has to do with this podcast. But it also just has to do in general with what we're going to talk about later in the discussion about having this dream project or, going after your calling and the anxiety that is the anxiety that comes with that. It can be really, really scary. And yeah, it's kind of hard to turn off. Shout out to the friends who keep me sane and keep me in check. You we're going to talk about building the village in 2 weeks, but you know, the village comes in handy when you are trying to get a project off the ground because not only do they help you troubleshoot, if you have a good village, not only are they people that you can bounce ideas off of, but they're also people that can ground you on a bad week or in a low season. They're people that can remind you of your purpose and really just recenter you. I'm really grateful that I have that. And so, yeah, I think that's it for my sanity check this week. I have a lot going on, but I go on vacation in 4 days. So you know what? It can't get that bad. Okay, so we had Tim on the couch last week. I'm bringing the man to the couch one more time this week. Here he is. This is my man. If you're watching on video, here's my man Tim. Okay. Last week or 2 weeks ago, we talked about the Louisiana v. Callais ruling. Since then, shit's hit the fan across the South. I said it would happen across the South. It might be happening across the U.S. in general, but I feel like all the headlines I've seen are related to Louisiana, Texas, who am I missing? Mississippi, all in Tennessee, all racing to redraw their maps. Scary times. The house may potentially be on fire, but I want to hear from you. Since we last talked, what has been happening across the South?
A lot. So, like you said, all those states have moved to redraw their maps. The Supreme Court gave an additional ruling saying that the states do not have to delay implementation of the ruling. So there was a suit that was trying to get the implementation of the ruling delayed because many, if not all of those states, are in the middle of primary elections based on the maps that the Supreme Court said could be changed. So people are like, hey, votes are actually coming in already. We should delay these maps. We should delay this until 2020. What's this? 2028. Supreme Court said, no, actually, the states, y'all can go ahead and change the maps right now if you want to.
So that means that people could currently be in an election and they might change these maps tomorrow and then ultimately have to have another election.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen.
What?
Yeah. In states like Louisiana, Alabama, all of those, there's currently a midterm election. There's a midterm, for example, in Alabama, there's a primary election on Tuesday, the 19th. Those districts that they're voting in could be different in November. There could be another primary election to come. So, yeah,
Okay, because what we're voting on right now is the primaries that ultimately leads to November.
we're deciding what Democrat, what Republican will be on the ballot,
Got
or
it.
independent will be on the
Okay.
ballot in November.
So we might have another primary when they change these maps. Okay. No, that's not great. That's crazy. And what's crazier is that in all of these states, they're already Republican states. This is
Yeah,
completely unnecessary. It's not like we're talking about states that go Republican, could go Democrat. Like we're in the
right.
South. These are already Republican states. In Alabama, the Republicans have the supermajority, and they went through. Talk to us about all that they went through to change their maps.
So when they were having the public hearings and the conversation about it, there was a tornado warning. So there's like the tornado warning sirens going. It's raining and storming. The state house flooded. You should go look up the pictures. This is like the amount of water that was crazy. What else? There was a gas leak in the state house. So you got sirens going on outside. Water is rushing into the state house. There's a gas leak. There are sirens going off inside the state house telling people to evacuate. And they still were like, well, hold on. We're going to wait. We're going to vote to change these maps first before we evacuate the building that has a gas leak.
And again, they have the supermajority.
Yeah,
So
they can do whatever they want to
they
do
knew that
whenever
the
they want to
maps
do it.
would pass. Changing these maps, how many seats does it impact?
So currently it'll be one. So in 2023, Alabama gained an additional majority minority district, aka a black district,
And that
Democratic
was
district.
from the prior Supreme Court ruling.
Alabama v. Milligan, yeah.
Yep.
So the maps that passed and the governor signed will eliminate that second district.
So we're doing all of this. Like we might be in the midst of a flood. This place might blow up because of a gas leak, but we're going to risk it all to eliminate one seat.
Yeah. And there are 7 total congressional seats in Alabama. Of the 7, 2 are Democratic.
Yeah. Okay. And then something even worse happened. The Speaker of the House in Alabama made a statement after this happened. So after they passed the maps, he's talking to reporters and he made a statement which maybe was a slip or maybe was intentional, that was to the effect of, we hope the next thing the courts look at is repealing the 14th Amendment.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What is the 14th Amendment? What does it do?
So the 14th Amendment came a couple years after the Civil War in 1868. And the first thing it did, it gave birthright citizenship, which is how Black people became citizens of the United States at the time. It also includes due process and equal protection under the law. But right now, the part that they're challenging is a case that was heard recently in the Supreme Court, where they are challenging the birthright citizenship piece of the 14th Amendment.
So that's really concerning, because I think when we heard about them challenging the birthright citizenship, we were thinking in lines of this impacting the Hispanic community.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of times when it comes to immigration, I hear Black people specifically being like, why does that matter for us? Especially when you couple it with the fact that there is a belief that the Hispanic community did not show up and does not show up in support of the Black community. Or when you think about the large percentage of Hispanic voters that voted in favor of Donald Trump rather than in favor of Kamala Harris, a lot of times the Black community can feel very jaded by the Hispanic community. And it becomes a question of, why should we care about what's happening to them? Now, I'm not saying I feel that way, but it's certainly a belief that's like shared within the Black community. But what I've always felt is, number one, if you don't find reasons to care just because injustice is happening to a group of people. That's always going to pull at my heartstrings. If even for selfish reasons, you should care because if it impacts them today, it impacts us tomorrow. And so it sounds like this birthright citizenship, them saying, "Hey, we hope they can look at this next." That starts to get scary for Black people too now.
Yeah. If they could get birthright citizenship reversed, then what does that say about the citizenship of Black people whose our citizenship came through the 14th Amendment? When Kamala Harris was running for president in 24, there was a conservative group that filed a lawsuit saying that she can't run for president or eligible to be president because she's Black and base it on the Dred Scott decision, which is what the 14th Amendment was designed to repeal. Dred Scott was a Supreme Court case that said Black people could never be citizens.
Who made this argument?
It was there was a conservative group. I had to look up their name, but yeah, like that was a real thing. It obviously didn't work,
Yeah,
but it signals their intention for the future. Like, conservatives, the Republican Party is very calculated. All the stuff we're seeing now, they've been planning it since the 70s
yeah.
with the Heritage Foundation.
Was this in line with Project 2025?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I was looking at something a couple days ago, and like over 50% of Project 2025 has already been implemented.
Dear God.
And we're, I don't
So
know, 2 years into the term or a
what's
year.
scary to me is that it seems to me like the house is on fire, especially for Black people. Like we are directly under attack, and a lot of us don't even realize it and still don't care. I don't know what to do with that because it's like the people that are even listening to this podcast, I'm kind of preaching to the choir. They already know, and to the extent they didn't know, they certainly care. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
the minute you tell them about it, they will understand, like, "Oh, shit, that's a problem. We need to get out and vote." But it's like, how do we reach the people where this is falling on deaf ears? That honestly, in a lot of cases, are more impacted by some of these things than we are.
yeah,
Like, how do we reach those people? It's like it's not us, it's your cousins and, your uncles that don't think it matters or I mean, I remember just spending hours in a day trying to persuade people that putting Trump back in office was a problem. It would have devastating effects. And people were like, he gave us a stimmy, he's funny, Kamala's no better.
yeah,
And it's like, well, y'all were so fucking wrong. But even now that we're seeing the impacts of putting Trump back in office, those people still don't understand, like, shit has hit the fan. It's not hitting the fan, it's hit the fan. They are
yeah.
still blind to it, and I
It's
just
only
don't
gonna
know
get
what to do
worse.
about that.
I mean, I don't know either. Like we've been trying to figure that out since 2016,
Yeah.
right? Like, how do we
How do we reach them?
things directly impact them, like the price of gas and food and
I'll give you one
all the
better.
things.
I'll give you one better that directly impacted them. If you are looking at paying attention to the Julio Foolio case, and not that I know much about Julio Foolio, I'm so sorry. Rest in peace to him. I didn't listen to his music. Couldn't really tell you too many things about the man other than the fact that his name was Julio Foolio and he was killed. And he rapped about the people that he killed.
Yeah,
And then the family member of one of the people he was rapping about ended up killing him along with three other people. So and this happened in Tampa, Florida. Am I
I think
right?
so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Tampa, Florida. They they murdered him. They're now on trial. And one of the guys that's on trial, don't know his name, just look it up. One of the guys that's on trial, he's been in the headlines a lot because apparently he comes from a really good family. He was seen crying in court. It seems like now it's all hitting him like, "Oh, shit, like I have completely thrown my life away."
I'm like,
Somebody speaking on behalf of the prison,
or, or
they were
definitely.
trying to decide if he was going to get life or the death penalty, which you already know how I feel about that. They were essentially asking him, do you think the prison would benefit from him serving life in prison? And he essentially equated it to like him to sweat equity. He's young, he's strong. We have a dying population. We could get a lot of sweat equity from him. I immediately was like, oh, this shit is slavery in front of our. eyes.
Yeah.
What's crazy to me though is that we will go on the front lines advocating for things like the death penalty. And the YNs, they don't care. That case, maybe it maybe it deserved life in prison, but it damn sure didn't deserve the death penalty. And the fact that we were even having that discussion was baffling to me. But I said all that to say it's like sometimes I don't understand why they don't care more when ultimately in that moment, like we're seeing the effects of all of the things that we rally for. They
Well, he
just
cared then.
he cared then, but
When
it's shit,
when
it's too
they
late now.
when they talking like whether you gonna live or die or be a slave,
Yeah,
like then he cared. But like you said, yeah, it's too late at this point.
it's
And
too
this is crazy because I think he was like, I don't even think he was 25. Like he probably like 23.
and to know that you're gonna spend
And
the
you
rest of your life in prison and you just were reduced to sweat equity.
yeah,
It's like, well, we advocate for harsh sentencing. We advocate against the death penalty. Those are the things that we're fighting for. When we are talking about going to vote, we are voting for people who make sure that like we are not just throwing people that look
yeah,
like us away and reducing them to sweat equity. We don't care when it's time to care, but we care at the sentencing phase. But we miss all the
yeah,
building blocks that lead up to something like that.
yeah,
I don't know how we can get those people to open their eyes.
yeah. I don't want to say it's a lost cause, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Like if your life, you don't care about your life, it ain't really much else that you gonna care about.
Yeah.
Like
No, that's so true.
my grandma used to always say, you got to be scared of something.
Yeah.
I'm scared of somebody that ain't scared of nothing.
Terrified. But it's not even just them. Like that's just the case that has been in the news lately and it just caught my attention.
Yeah.
But it's people that's not like in shootouts every day. Like
Yeah.
I have
No,
family
yeah, for
members that
sure.
are
Yeah, yeah,
productive
yeah.
citizens of society that are just like, I could care less
Yeah.
about what's happening in politics. And it reminds me of what you always say. You don't do politics, but politics is doing you.
Yeah.
And black people, politics is doing the fuck out of us right now.
So you can't get away from it. It's I mean, it's in everything, like what you can listen to on the radio, what you can see in a movie, everything. The plastic your water is in a water bottle, everything is connected to politics. You can't get away from it unless you go to an island somewhere. And even on the way there, you still dealing with politics. So it's I mean,
We don't even have the privilege of not caring.
right. Yeah. That's a privilege we don't have at
Yeah,
all.
yeah,
Cause it's life or death for us.
yeah,
Like truly.
literally.
I don't want to make it like hyperbolic, but it really is life or death.
Yeah. And I just feel like, the next time you run into somebody, especially a black person that's like, I don't do politics, I don't care about politics, it's tap in or get back on the plantation,
Pretty much.
Which one?
Cause
Well, more to come on this, unfortunately, because this
yeah.
is, I mean, more is happening every single day as it relates to this. I wish we could wrap this discussion up. Like I said, I hate talking about politics. I just think like in the world where reality TV exists, I don't really want to talk about politics, but we simply have no choice.
I mean, we live in a scandal episode every day. There's no Olivia Pope officially. So
No, and it's real. Like this is not a script. This is real. So okay, well thank you for stopping by the couch again to inform us. Thank you, my love. Next, let's get into what's on the air. Okay, so I hate to admit it, but I'm obsessed with true crime. And a lot of people are obsessed with true crime. I'll tell you why it's particularly problematic for me, though. I'm the scariest person you will ever meet in life. I'm scared when I walk to my car. I'm scared when I hear noises in my house. I'm scared when random people approach me. Like, I am an incredibly anxious person. I'm the person that's overly concerned about her safety. Like, I damn near am tripping to get to my car. It's irrational, certainly. You might think it's normal, but I do want to tell you that I reach irrational levels and my friends are often sick of my shit. So I'm like the last person on earth that should binge watch true crime. But unfortunately, once I start, I cannot stop. And the thing that I have been watching lately is Worst Ex Ever on Netflix. Whoo, you guys. If you just start with the Deadpool killer, you really could stop there. There are so many episodes, and I don't want to say that they're good, but once you start them, you won't be able to stop them. A lot of them end in someone losing their life, unfortunately. But more so than that, it really highlights how often victims of domestic violence are failed by law enforcement. And the Deadpool killer is the best depiction of that. They failed those victims so much so that two innocent women ultimately lost their lives because law enforcement just did not do their job. And then after investigations happened and all of those things, the punishment was like 3-day suspension or something. I was fuming watching this show, but nonetheless, if you like true crime, I do think you would like this show a lot. And it's not like those true crime shows where they take you through a fucking hour, an hour. Like we are in it now. We're trying to figure out what happened to Martha. We saw the last time Martha left her apartment. We see the car. Like you have taken us through all of it. We are locked in and loaded on where is Martha. And then they get to the end of the episode and they're like, we still don't know what happened to Martha. What the fuck? I can't do that. I cannot do that. Why would you waste our time for an hour? We shouldn't even had this one. You should have just did another one. I feel like the reason that this is good, if you like true crime, is that all of the episodes are a well-rounded story. There are no holes in the episode. It's not like it leaves you, on with a cliffhanger because First 48 loves to do that. There are no cliffhangers here, no substantive cliffhangers. So I think that probably makes it more sad, but it's a good watch if you are a true crime junkie, like unfortunately I am, and you're looking for something to watch. So I advise you to go check it out. Okay, guys, we are back with part 2 of our Dare to Dream series, and today's topic is what if I fail? I'm no motivational speaker, and we're on this journey together, so I am not going to act like this is not the conversation where I'm going to be like, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. No, because the truth of the matter is when you pour your heart and soul into something, when you put yourself out there, when you put your money into something, when you put your time into something, when this dream you have takes you away from your family, like there's sacrifices that you have to make towards it that don't just impact you, they also impact others around you. When you are asking for other people to buy into this dream that you have, the thought of failure is scary. It is. It's debilitating. It keeps me up at night. So I think it's fine to acknowledge those fears that we have because I think a lot of times they don't go away. You might find ways to work with them, and you can even find ways to make your fear of failure work for you and not against you. But I don't think that fear of failure goes away because who the fuck wants to fail? Not I. So that's what we're talking about this week. And honestly, I've been dealing with that a lot. And so what do we do when we have this dream? We've come up with the plan. Maybe we've even taken steps towards it. Maybe we are at the launch phase of it, right? It's easy when it's the dream that's just in your notebook. When it's time to say it out loud, when it's time to go to investors, when it's time to start posting on social media, that is when it's like, oh, shit, now it's getting scary. Now I have this fear of failure. And a lot of it is because it's now public facing. The doubters are at play. You got the critics, even from people that might be close to you. That's when they come out. When it was just in your head, it might have just been thoughts in your head going back and forth, but that's very different than when you're at launch phase. And it can be incredibly, incredibly nerve wracking. So we do have to find ways to deal with that because at the end of the day, we still have to move towards our calling. And so I think that this second discussion falls perfectly in line with last week's discussion of aligning your purpose with God's will. Because I think the best thing that we can do for our fear is match our fear with some truths. And so in doing that, step 1 is, am I aligned with my purpose, my passion, and God's will for my life? Like, did God give me the vision and I'm simply just walking into it, being obedient? Because if that's the case, if I can check yes to that, then it's like what my husband always says. I radically believe that God will work everything out in my favor, and he always has. So if I can check the box to step 1, then I can then remember God's track record. And the truth of the matter is that God has never failed me. whether it was getting me from college to law school, whether it was getting me from high school to college, whether it was me going from being having a full scholarship on the volleyball team to moving away from that and having to figure out how to pay for school on my own, whether it was getting me on my big law job, whether it was getting me off my big law job, whether it was getting me through grief, whether it was getting me through labor. God has never failed me. He just hasn't, and he won't. So if I'm confident that I'm walking in the path that he would have for me, I'm definitely confident in his track record. I know he's not going to break his track record now. If he's never failed me then, he's definitely not going to fail me now. And so sometimes you even have to write down your former wins. I'm sure God has seen you through a similar season in your past, a season of unknown, because that's what this is. Because unfortunately, God doesn't give us the beginning, middle, and end. A lot of times he just gives us the beginning. And then there's a lot of unknown on this journey. You're like, yes, I know I'm walking in alignment with God's will. Yes, I know his track record is 10 out of 10. I know he ain't got no losses. I know all of those things, but it's still a journey of the unknown. And I don't know how it's going to go. And a lot of us, especially me, we do not like living in the unknown. But 9 times out of 10, this is not our first go round. And this is not the first time that God has brought us to something and brought us through something. And so a lot of times I have to write those former wins down. So yes, the unknown is scary. This is not my first time having to rely on God blindly and him taking me through a season and placing me on higher ground. And that's why when you go through things, it's for a reason. Sometimes we are going through these trials and tribulations because it strengthens our faith and it gives us something to anchor our faith to, right? So now when I'm faced with fears and I'm faced with anxiety and I need something to calm my anxiety, I don't have to think about what Alex said, or I don't have to think about, the example that Sarah gave. I have personal examples in my life, and that is what we have to feed our fears with. For every time a doubt comes into my head, we need to match that doubt with the truth. And then after that, to the extent that our fear of failure is still there, I think sometimes you just have to do it scared. I think sometimes you just got to tell fear, get in the back seat. My junior year of college, my best friend came to us. She said, hey, I'm going to kneel. This was around the time that Colin Kaepernick was kneeling during the national anthem. She said, hey, I've looked into this. I'm going to do it. Nobody has to do it with me. And immediately, my best friends and I, we were like, oh, we will be doing it. Like, you ain't doing it alone. We're going to do it. We didn't research anything. We didn't need to talk to anybody. We were just like, we're doing it. Obviously, there were a lot of repercussions that came with that. We got a lot of backlash for it. And one of our teammates said, y'all just went head first, big splash. And I'll stop the story there because the rest of it gets very racist. But point being, head first, big splash became a motto for me. I really feel like sometimes when you are pursuing these passion projects, I think sometimes you just gotta go head first, big splash, knowing that you're walking in alignment with God's will for your life, knowing that his track record is a 10 out of 10. He ain't got no losses. After that, whatever remaining fear you have, you just got to put that shit in the back seat. Go head first, big splash. Just go. Do it scared. Do it with the supporters. Do it without the supporters. Do it with the naysayers. Do it in spite of the naysayers. Do it with the fear of failure. Do it without the fear of failure. As long as you're moving forward, babe, you're doing amazing, sweetie. And we will talk about building your village in 2 weeks, but it makes all the difference in the world when you have a supportive village around you. When you have people that you can call when your anxiety is revving up or you're like, I'm about to fail. One of the best things for anxiety is having people around you that can pour into you, that understand the goal, that understand the passion, not as much as you, but just as much as you, that support the vision and where you're going. And on those days where you're doubting yourself, they can remind you of your track record. They can remind you of your purpose and why you're doing this. And they can just ground you on those bad days. The village is so, so important. And you get to decide who your village is. But because there's a lot of unknowns that we go through as we get our dreams off the ground. The first week you launch the business might not make no money. The first week you post, you might not get no likes. The metrics might not be in your favor. And we're inclined to automatically think that means failure. It doesn't mean failure. Sometimes it just is small beginnings. And in those seasons, we really need people that can encourage us and push us forward. But what we ultimately need to remember, like Tim says, is that I radically believe that God will work everything out in our favor. And He always has. So my sisters, dare to dream, because we got goals to go after and we got lives to change one step at a time. Okay, guys, thank you guys for tuning in to episode 4. Please like, subscribe, and rate this podcast if you haven't already. You can find me on Instagram at Chelsea Ragland. Find this podcast page on Instagram at Mommy Cigarette Break. We're also on TikTok at Chelsea Ragland _ and on YouTube at Mommy Cigarette Break. Thank you for tuning in. I love you.
Break's over.
You heard her. Break's over.